Some cartoon episodes were so shocking that they were erased from history, whether that would be from lawsuits, outrage, and even death. But why though? From Family Guy episodes that absolutely refused to air to South Park moments that led to real life chaos, some animated shows have crossed the line with episodes that you would not believe. But even behind the colorful animation and catchy theme songs, episodes were banned forever, pulled away from air for us to never see again. Growing up, I absolutely loved cartoons, much like any kid. I loved SpongeBob, Powerpuff Girls, Dexter's Laboratory. They were absolutely my childhood. But as a kid, I never realized how controversial these episodes were, so much so to the point where they were banned, completely wiped from existence. That is not until I grew up and got mature and honestly started working on this video. So I just had to know, what made these episodes so unacceptable that they had to be completely wiped? Was it dark humor, dark themes, something much worse? Today, I thought it'd be so fun to uncover 5 of the most shocking banned episodes. I will be ranking them from least crazy to most insane. Like, what in the world that they were thinking. But before we get started, I just want to say hi, my name is Kenya Deanna, and I thoroughly enjoy making videos about discussing controversial animated episodes like this one, or diving into episodes with darker themes. And also, I just want to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who has commented on my last video I made. I worked so hard on that Beavis and Butt-Head video. So hard. I think it took me months to make it. And I want to say thank you to everyone who watched it, liked it, and just commented kind words to me. Like, seriously, those kind words that y'all said to me, it really almost made me cry. It makes me feel like what I'm doing is worth it, and it makes me want to keep pushing forward with making videos. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I also want to give out a content warning. For full transparency, I'll be discussing controversial topics within this video. So please note that the views expressed in this video does not align with my personal values and beliefs. This video is meant to entertain and educate by exploring the reasons behind banned episodes, including censorship and other similar concerns. So if all that sounds interesting to you, let's finally get started with this video, starting with our number 5 spot, Beavis and Butt-Head. If you're a subscriber of mine, you might remember the deep dive that I did into the Beavis and Butt-Head fire controversy with the comedians episode. So if you have not watched that video, I will have it linked down in the description below. Please go watch that video, as I have put blood, sweat, and tears into that video. I worked so hard on it. But yes, kicking off our list is the number 5 spot, Beavis and Butt-Head, a show that from the time that it has aired really became a lightning rod for controversy. It was crude, rebellious, and very MTV-like. It perfectly captured the 90s counterculture of that time. Parents hated it, but teens loved it, and even young adults. But no one expected that one episode would be blamed for a real-life tragedy. In Comedians, Beavis tries his hand at stand-up comedy, incorporating fire within his act, only to accidentally burn down the comedy club. Much like the show, the humor was juvenile, shocking, and very on brand for Beavis and Butt-Head. But in 1993, the episode took on a horrifying real-world connection when a fire in Ohio claimed the life of a 2-year-old girl. The boy was accused of starting the fire, but the boy was only just 5 years old. His mother immediately blamed Beavis and Butt-Head, claiming that the show inspired her son's actions. Cue the media frenzy. It really did cause such a stir. Almost overnight, Beavis and Butt-Head went from a raunchy cartoon to a national scapegoat, which really ignited debates about television's influence on young, impressionable minds. But here's the wild part to me. The mother's claims was completely false. Neighbors and years later, the boy has confirmed that they didn't even have cable, nor did he even watch Beavis and Butt-Head. Yet, despite the truth coming out, the damage was already done. The show had become public enemy number 1, and MTV was under the pressure to act. Of course they were. The show was moved to a later time slot, and Beavis was banned from mentioning or even playing with fire ever again. Well, at least for a long time. This really brings up an age-old debate. Can a cartoon really be responsible for something so tragic such as this? Personally, I really don't think so. Growing up, my mom allowed me, my brother, and my sister to watch questionable content. Not that kind of questionable content. Not that one, but she allowed us to watch stuff like Jerry Springer, Maury, Bad Girls Club, and heck, even like rated R movies. I remember growing up watching like Resident Evil. I even remember she let me watch that movie V for Vendetta, you know, stuff like that. And personally, I think I turned out just fine, right? But don't get me wrong, at the same time, I understand why parents do get so worried. There's a fine line between acknowledging the media's influence as a scapegoat and using it as a personal scapegoat for deeper issues such as societal issues or parental supervision. Even though the mother's claims were debunked, Beavis and Butt-Head carried that weight of controversy, setting a precedent for how animated shows will be held accountable for supposed real-world consequences, no matter how flimsy the connections were. So what happened to the comedians episode? Well, it was completely banned. Obviously, this is a banned list, but you'll be able to watch it on DVD box sets, or you'll be able to watch it through some internet digging, much like I did, if you know what I mean. Or you can just watch it through YouTube, some old YouTube clips I also found on there. It's so crazy to me to think how one exaggerated claim can lead to such a lasting impact on the show, although the show is bigger and better than ever. I mean, the show's doing completely fine. While Beavis and Butt-Head has dealt with public outrage due to a real-world tragedy and media frenzy, the next show on our list has dealt with a different type of controversy. One that has dealt with a beloved pop star and has dealt with the question of, can we separate the art from the artist? And that leads to our next entry on the list. At our number 4 spot, we have The Simpsons. The Simpsons is a long-running show with over 36 seasons and over 760 episodes. So I think it's safe to say that the show is definitely bound to have a controversial episode or two. One particular controversial episode is the episode titled Stark Raving Dad that was aired in 1991. In this episode, Homer wears a pink shirt to work after a laundry mishap, leading Mr. Burns to suspect him on being a free-thinking anarchist, whatever that might mean, and ordering a psychiatric evaluation. Bart fills out an evaluation, resulting in Homer being committed to a mental institution where he meets a character named Leon Kompowski. Leon Kompowski was voiced by none other than Michael Jackson. Now, we're gonna do a little quiz here. Take a second and think, why do you think this episode was so controversial? A, because it revealed that the moon is actually a hologram. B, because it exposed that The Simpsons has been predicting real life events since 1990 and we're all just living in their dystopian forecast. Or C, because of Michael Jackson's questionable history and accusations dealing with. Alright, time is up. If you said C, then you will be correct. And you deserve a ketchup packet. Whataburger spicy ketchup packet. Take it. Oh, you don't want it? Okay, fine. Fine, don't take it. And by the way, yeah, I know. It's not a freaking hologram. I know. I'm not one of those not that crazy conspiracy theorists. The episode's controversy stems from Michael Jackson's history and accusations involving, especially since after the release of the 2019 documentary Leaving Neverland. I have not personally seen the documentary, but from my understanding, it basically reignited the history and accusations of Michael Jackson. Following this documentary, the creators decided to pull the episode from circulation and Disney+. Showrunner Al Jean expressed concerns that the episode could be misused by Jackson as part of his process. But this really raised an interesting question though. If the controversy was always there, if the accusations was always there, why wait till 2019 to pull the episode? Allegations against Michael Jackson has been up in the air since the early 90s, so why wait years and years to pull the episode? But this also sparked another question. Okay, I'm just full of questions today. Can we separate the art we enjoy from the actions of the people behind it? Is it fair to hold a fictional show show accountable for the real life behavior of its creators. Fans and critics have debated this, with some arguing that the art should stand on its own, while others believe that the actions of those involved inevitably affect how we perceive the work. But despite the intention of humor, Jackson's accusations and controversies has overshadowed the episode and its purpose. Now today, Stark-Raving Dad has been erased from history, and if you know where to look, you can look for either on YouTube or some more internet digging or the DVD box sets. It's still out there somewhere. Now, while The Simpsons has pulled an episode due to its guest star, our next episode was banned and axed from TV for different reasons. One that had nothing to do with real life accusations, but everything to do with the fear of the network's backlash. And that, my friends, in our next entry, number 3, is SpongeBob SquarePants, of course. Now, SpongeBob SquarePants might seem an unlikely entry on this list, or now that I think about it, not really. But even kids' cartoons are not immune to banned episodes, controversies, and censorship. And trust me, this one's a weird one. One of the most talked about examples is the episode Midlife Crustacean. The plot kicks off with Mr. Krabs feeling old and out of touch, so he tries to bond with his teenage daughter Pearl by acting cool. Or as I put it in the show, of course, coral. They're totally acting coral. But Pearl's not having it though, and she completely boots him out. Desperate for some excitement, he tags along with SpongeBob and Patrick on a night out, which leads to the infamous panty raising. So the punchline is, turns out Mr. Krabs raided his own mother's drawers. Yeah. As a kid, most of us probably just watched this, laughed, and moved on with our lives. But now, as an adult, and now that I'm thinking about it, I can kind of see why this episode was banned. I'm not gonna even lie. It's really hard not to question how appropriate or inappropriate this scene really was. I mean, I don't understand how we could just breeze through something so weird as that, but like I said, as kids, we was not thinking about none of that, okay? What's so crazy to me is that this episode aired regularly for 15 years up until the point it got banned in 2018 for it being too inappropriate. Paramount Plus briefly brought it back in 2023, but it disappeared again almost immediately. But why this episode though? SpongeBob never shied away from adult jokes, so what made this the tipping point? Fans were pretty vocal about the episode being banned, and many felt that the decision was just an overreaction. Social media exploded with memes, and people even petitioned to bring the episode back. For a lot of fans, the episode was in line with SpongeBob's regular humor and silly jokes. So what was the real issue? Did really taking the episode down change anything? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a fan of censorship, but I think I can sympathize with the side that wanted the episode banned, because there are mentions of women's underwear and breaking into somebody's house and rummaging through their drawers, let alone it being his own mother. But coming back to the side that people don't believe it should have been banned, it seems like banning it was a little bit to the extreme, especially when you consider how long the episode aired without anyone batting an eye. It just felt like classic SpongeBob shenanigans. It really did. Because I mean, we didn't hear about any stories about kids breaking into houses and rummaging through someone's underwear or any stories like that. There was no such thing. Banning it was just pointless. And what about the other SpongeBob jokes that were in other episodes? I mean, if they thought Midlife Crustacean was too much, what about the other adult jokes within other episodes? I mean, we can't forget about the Gary Takes a Bath episode when SpongeBob said, "Don't drop the soap." Remember that joke? Or remember the episode of Nasty Patty where SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs think they've committed a murder and they try to cover it up? Or what about that one scene where SpongeBob quickly changes the TV whenever Gary slithers in? I mean, come on, we all knew what that meant. We knew what they were implying. I mean, there are countless references of adult jokes within SpongeBob. I'm assuming that's why that's still one of my favorite TV shows. But I mean, I could go on all day with this. I really could. Now, if you want to rewatch Midlife Crustacean, you'll have to find it on YouTube or do some internet digging, if you know what I mean when I say that. Or you'll have to get the DVD box set, much like I have. See, I love SpongeBob. I love him. See, Midlife Crustacean's on here. I don't know if the camera's flipped, but Midlife Crustacean right there. Told y'all, I love SpongeBob. This is unironically wearing this. But moving on, was banning the episode justified or was it much overkill? Now, while SpongeBob really pushed the envelope with its adult jokes, let's shift gears a little bit to an adult animated show that makes headlines for tackling controversial topics head on. Entering Family Guy. This series is known for pushing boundaries and often sparks outrage. Now, one episode in particular is called Partial Terms of Endearment. This episode took controversy to a whole nother level, and it's not because of what was necessarily shown, but it was because the episode never got the chance to air at all on TV. Now, it's kind of hard for me to choose between this episode and my first pick, but this episode really stood out to me because it was supposed to air in 2010, but never did. Now, the premise of the episode starts with Lois with her college old friend asking her to be a surrogate mother. Despite Peter's discomfort of it, Lois agrees to go through with it. Now, this really takes a dark turn when a friend tragically dies in a car accident, which promoted Lois to question whether to continue with the pregnancy. And it's worth to note that Peter ended up becoming like pro-life for just the tiniest bit of time in this episode. But after discussing it with Peter and reviewing it in videos, she ultimately gets to, of course, although it was in the hilarious Family Guy fashion. Such a funny scene, made me laugh so hard.
Seat of the car. One more Griffin to love and to love us in return.
We had the abortion.
But the humor, of course, remained with the weight of the topic. Partial Terms of Endearment really delved into a far more sensitive and political charged subject. So why was this episode so controversial? Well, because of the topic of abortion, of course. Now, the topic of abortion is such a taboo and sensitive subject to many people, especially within the political landscape of its time in 2010. Now, there was a Gallup study from that time that revealed a cultural divide, with 47% of Americans identifying as pro-life and 45% identified as pro-choice. Now, Fox president Kevin Riley cited financial concerns as the reason for not airing the episode. Although Seth MacFarlane indicated that it was primarily due to the sensitive nature that is of abortion, MacFarlane really made a valid point though. There's nothing about a woman's right to choose that should be any different than doing an episode about gay marriage or an episode about the oil spill. I mean, ultimately, the episode should have aired. I mean, to me, it really highlights how Americans can take a topic and make it such a taboo topic to talk about. I mean, at that time, of course. I mean, I guess the topic isn't so much taboo now with everything that's going on. What's even more interesting is that this episode isn't really drastically different from any other subject or topic that they have talked about in Family Guy before. And the episode is just as funny and irreverent as any other episodes that they have aired before. It's funny how the show pushed boundaries in other subjects and topics, except when they wanted to draw the line here. I'm about to put myself out here. Now, although my personal beliefs may differ from the episode, I genuinely feel like the episode should have aired. And I just believe Americans really shouldn't be so scared to talk about these kind of subjects. What I really find interesting about this is that it aired on BBC Three in the UK, while Americans can only be able to find it through YouTube clips, or I believe I found it on Apple TV as well. And we cannot forget that it is on DVD box sets as well. Now, after discussing Family Guy's controversial episode, we have finally reached our #1 spot. This show has made a name for itself and is constantly in the headlines and constantly keeps making a name for itself because they push so many boundaries. And that episode is, you have guessed it, South Park. I mean, duh. This one was a no-brainer, at least to me it was. Now, South Park is known for this unapologetic approach to sensitive topics. And one episode took things to a whole nother level that blew my mind when I found this out. And that episode, my friends, is episode 200. This episode has aired in 2010, and now let's finally discuss why this episode is #1 on my list. Let's discuss it. The episode's plot revolves around South Park's 200th episode, episode celebration, bringing back celebrities the show had previously mocked. Tom Cruise, along with a whole bunch of other celebrities, threatened to sue the town. But Cruise offers a deal. He'll drop the lawsuit if he can meet with Muhammad. So what's the problem? Well, the episode included blasphemous depictions of Muhammad, sparking massive backlash from the Muslim community, especially considering past controversies involving depictions of Muhammad. Now, this was not the first time depictions of Muhammad really caused outrage. Back in 2005, the Danish newspaper, I am not going to even attempt to try to pronounce that, published 12 cartoons of Muhammad, igniting heated debates about the religious criticism and censorship. Then, in 2007, a Swedish artist drew Muhammad as a roundabout dog. Now, if you don't know what a roundabout dog is, it's basically a dog sculpture that's placed in a roundabout circle, like a roundabout traffic circle. And for some reason, this was a trend in Sweden in 2006. Seems kind of harmless, right? But definitely not in this case, it's not. Now here's the thing though, drawing really led to deaths from extremist groups. South Park had actually featured Muhammad before in episodes like Super Best Friends and Cartoon Worlds, but after these were made against Matt Stone and Trey Parker, as well as Comedy Central, those episodes were pulled. Now, after the airing of episode 200, there's a really big plot against them linked to very big extremist groups. But because of the backlash, the follow-up episode, episode 201, was heavily censored. Muhammad was completely covered with a black censored bar, and Kyle's big old speech at the end was just a long bleeped out mess. And it's kind of crazy that his speech was bleeped out because he wasn't even saying anything remotely bad. If anything, I think it was just like a neutral message or a good message. But eventually, Comedy Central decided to ban all episodes that features Muhammad. And this includes Super Best Friends, Cartoon Wars Part 1 and 2, 200, and 201, making them available on certain DVD releases and, of course, internet digging. But you want to know the irony of all of this though? These episodes were meant to take a stand on censorship, kind of like what that name I can't pronounce did with their cartoons. I mean, one of South Park's ongoing themes, it has always been about tackling the subject of double standards of censorship. And I'll say especially when it comes to religious figures. While I don't blame Matt and Trey for tackling this issue, it's easy to see why Comedy Central decided to ban all those episodes, especially episode 201. Now, when you have threats involved, that is a whole nother level of controversy. That is why South Park has made number 1. So this is what I have for you today. Which controversial episode surprised you the most? For me, it was, honestly, none of these shows surprised me, if I'm honest, including SpongeBob. SpongeBob didn't surprise me. It really didn't. But which controversial episode were you surprised on this list? I would really love to see what you have to say in the comments below. Now, for my subscribers, you've seen my last video where I had my avatar. I was trying to toy with the idea of, should I do on camera like this or should I just do full videos with my avatar? Now let me know if you prefer me to be on camera or if you prefer me to just use my avatar. Please give me the feedback. I really need it because of editing and I just want to know what you guys like. So thank you so much for watching this video and please like this video. Like this video, like this video, like this video. Make sure you comment and please subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate you all for watching so much and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!